All right, we are recording. Okay, so again, our theme for this year is score in 24 so we can thrive in 25. We're going to be grinding away. I'm going to do a lot of stuff as far as training goes this year. I've got some things scheduled and some ideas that we're going to do, try to get everybody at every level of expertise some skill. Good morning, Angela. How are you? Okay, core value. We position our clients as the heroes and strive to add value as their guides. Our job is to serve our clients and ultimately do what is best and what is in their best interest. Our interests are secondary to theirs. We communicate in a way that places their needs and wants at the center. At the same time, we're always looking for ways to make someone's experience better and constantly add more value. We are never content with where we are at from a value perspective, but working to increasingly add to what we can offer and wow our clients. I hope that what I'm going to present today in Price It Right will give you some of that ammunition to wow your clients. I've spent a lot of time on this. I actually developed this 8 years ago when I was at RE/MAX and taught it there and had some real good response from the class. I've updated it. Of the last 2 weeks, I've updated the class, so I hope that you enjoy it. I highly encourage you to take notes, and then we'll have a Q&A session at the end, because once I get rolling, my mind may be so fast that my mouth can't keep up and I'll lose my place. So I'm just telling you in advance. Okay, discussion from last week. The IABS, Information About Brokerage Services, and Consumer Protection Notice must be displayed on your website and social media pages. If you want an example, go to brianstclair.com. Down at the bottom, I've linked both of those things. You're welcome to use the links that are there. Okay, they just need to be, if you've got a website, you need to have it on there. If you've got a Facebook page, it needs to be displayed. Take a picture and make it a post.
So I have it in the highlight. So
that's what I did.
Yeah, if you have it on Instagram, I just did my story and then made it a highlight, and then you can pin it to your Facebook too.
So if you have trouble doing any of that stuff, reach out and let us know, and somebody will be glad to jump in and help you do that. We can do it virtually, of course. So just so you know, as part of every TREC investigation, TREC enforcement checks and confirms for compliance on these posting requirements. You'll notice that I've placed the consumer protection notice right here in our office because it's required. So my broker responsibility course I took in December is paying off. If we ever get busted or get audited, we are compliant.
And I think like the fine for not having your IABS or something is like substantial.
Yeah, it's like $2,500.
You're talking about this thing? That's the consumer notice. The IABS is your information about broker services.
Yeah, but you're saying you have to have this on your social media?
Has to be posted as a post.
And if you use your personal page to post business, it has to be on your personal page as well.
And your company website has to be on there as well.
We learned that in compliance, because it says it has to be where it's derived from. Like your brokerage is 6 So like I have mine just in my bio.
That's it.
Okay, so
say 6 on it. What do you have to put?
if you ever notice, yes,
is good enough.
but you have to fill out the bottom line. We got in the quick links, is the top 3 are filled out, so it's 6th Ave, me, and Jimmy. And then the bottom line is blank, and then you need to put your information in there, save it into your Google Drive, Dropbox, OneDrive, whatever, and then link it from there. That's where it lives, is in your drive, in your cloud.
Make sure in your drive you share it with everybody.
Yeah, it's got to be shared so you can see it.
Click on it and you're not sharing it.
Lots of little bitty things that we can do, but we can work on those as we go. If y'all ever notice in my emails that I send out, my IABS is above my signature block, my picture and stuff. It has to be linked above that.
Oh,
Just so you know.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it has to be above your signature block. And it has to specifically reference the IABS one. Okay, quick market update. Last week we did November. December numbers are out, so I'm going to kind of update you quick. Tarrant median price was down 3.4% year over year. Inventory is at 2.3 months, so it's still a seller's market. Harker County median price is now down 2.3% to 435. Inventory is at 4.6, almost balanced. Y'all are close. Wise County up 2.4%. and inventory is at 5.1 months. So y'all have a balanced market out there. DFW as a whole, median price was down 1.3%. Inventory is at 2.6 months, but sales are down 5.9. Fort Worth just published theirs yesterday. Median price is down 4.3% year over year to 325. Actives are up 1.4, which we saw. Sales are down 12.6 year over year in Fort Worth. Inventory is 2.3 months. Okay, that's all. 100 Days to Greatness is coming in February. Start the 14th, go through May the 15th. If you take it before and you would like to audit it, which means that you would get referral maker and everything, you have to buy the class again. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that was the rule, but Buffini said that you come in, I don't care if you come in and watch the videos and use the book that you've got before, you just don't have access to a referral maker during the class. If you're not signed up for a referral maker and would like to take 100 Days to Greatness, please see me. I'll give you the link. It's in Slack, it's everywhere, so we can do that. 2 more weeks for quarterly catch-ups. If you haven't booked yours, please do so. Masterminds next week. Jamie is going to roll out a new product for us called the Vision Journal. Give me 5 seconds. Vision Guide, and they actually were printed and came in, so we'll be going over this. Jamie will be presenting this next week, which means I have to talk for an hour, which is awesome. So anyway, this is coming next week, and I hope that you all can attend that. If you've worked with or know an agent that you think would be a good for 6th Ave and be a positive influence on the culture, please contact Jimmy with their info. We're looking for 10 agents this year. We'll want to add. We're at 41 right now, and we'd like to be at 51 by the end of the year across all the offices. So any questions about anything we've gone over so far?
No.
Okay, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to present to you Price It Right. Dim some lights here so we can see the screen. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, everybody online can see it? Somebody give me a thumbs up. Okay, Danielle, thank you. All right, let me get rid of my window here and let's begin the class. Okay, so pricing perspective. Your success as a listing agent has everything to do with your value proposition, which is what we went over in our core value, adding value to your clients and their needs. The primary focus of an effective listing conversation should be able to find and agree on the most appropriate price point for the home. Not necessarily what they think it's worth, not necessarily what you think it's worth. It's where is it going to fit in the market and what is an appraiser going to actually be able to give them for that property. Set yourself apart. So that's what this class is really focused on, is making these decisions and showing the clients how we do this. Okay, so check your attitude. Our beliefs determine our behavior. Listing a home is an art. Selling a home is a science. I always use that in my presentation. When I do a listing presentation, I use those exact things because listing it is an art, and it's a way that you do it. I'm listing one right now that took me 3.5 hours yesterday because I really wanted to make sure that I didn't miss anything. Haven't done one in a month and a half. It's that constant practice of doing this over and over again. Buyers determine value. Sellers determine price. Price determines if a home is sold. Homes sell because of price and exposure. Does all that make sense? You see the logic?
Are you going to send this to business talk after?
I can, yeah. So we're going to become a pricing strategist. An agent's role is to help the seller make a more intelligent and informed pricing determination. We want to be a pricing leader. What causes an agent and sellers to misprice a home? Lack of knowledge, lack of confidence, lack of judgment, and lack of care. When somebody misprices something, one of those things has happened, if not all four. So this is a more effective way. This will lead sellers to self-discovery so that you're going to show them where the comps are and you're going to let them pick where the price is. And I'll show you how we do that. And you're going to change their perspective. Do you currently consider in your listing, when you're looking at something, the features, amenities, and conditions of the subject home? Obviously, we're looking at what those things are. Do you consider sold homes? Obviously. Do you consider expireds?
I do it as a baseline. Like I say, okay, they expired, they canceled for whatever reason it is, but this is kind of where
Right.
my baseline is.
So that's where we're going to go. And then we also look at the actives. Now, of course, that's not a comp, but we have to look at competition.
Yeah.
Do we consider market trends and conditions for the area? The seller's financial needs, the seller's timing need. You guys have heard me say this before, and I still say it and I preach it. Everything in real estate is time versus money. If you've got time, you can wait on the money. But if you need the money, you're going to give up time. It's simple math. So the rule of thumb, there it is. Everything in real estate is time versus money. All right. So pricing fundamentals. Listing is an art. So we're going to lead the seller to the most appropriate price entry point. Selling is a science. Assembling, interpreting, and supplying relevant facts and data. So leadership is teaching others how to think so they can do what they need to do to get what they want. Opinion is unfounded speculation. A value is a home's worth justified by historical data. Entry point is a price point that will net the most amount of money in the current market. List price is perception after review and analysis of pricing data. So it's a logical thing that you're going to lead these people through. And it's setting it up so that they can see, hey, based on what you're showing me, the actual price point should be. And it doesn't matter what the Zestimate is. It just doesn't. Are you going to consider it? You better, because they're looking at it. And I saw one yesterday. Zestimate was 218. My number said 305.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I've seen that more and more.
Yeah. So
Or
they're
flip-flop. Yeah.
list price must be less than or equal to value. Okay. Proven pricing strategy. Yes, I animated that.
I love it.
Identify and gain an understanding of the value ranges that exist in the neighborhood, the area. Test the logic using expired listings. Determine the value range most suited for the subject home. Strategically position the subject home within the value range. Verify the price position chosen. I didn't type that right. Satisfy the seller's financial need. Value that the price position chosen will satisfy the seller's financial need. Analyze all homes directly competing with the subject home and determine the most appropriate price entry point based on a timing need. I'm just setting up for what we're about to do, okay? A lot of setup. So determining value. Identify and gain understanding of the sold value ranges in the area. We want to divide our area into 3 categories: the high range, the low range, and the mid range. Here's our procedure. We create a custom CMA using the sold listings. Everybody does this, right? We use those. Those are the key buying features. The number of bedrooms, number of stories, building square footage. Oh, didn't mean to hit that. Sorry, my big old butt. The year built, does it have a pool? Is it private? Lot description. These other things are important, but these are the key buying features. Everybody with me?
Right.
Okay. Create a sold summary sheet according to the price per square foot, high to low, and draw lines to separate the values. This is an old one. I'm not going to lie. This is 5 years, 6 years old. You can see what the house prices in Arcadia Park were in 2018.
There might be a little bit different.
They're a little bit different. Arcadia Park is up in Keller off of 35 and Heritage Trace area. So this gives you the different price points. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but when you're in MLS, you can click this column and there's an arrow and you can organize it by price. All of these ones, you can do that. You can do it by square foot. You can do it by address, status, all those things. If you're looking for like an old listing, you can do it by MLS number, and then you can go back and find the oldest number, and it usually will be one of the older listings, just so you know that. Okay, so determining value, step 2, test the logic using expired listings. To build further support, you're going to test your logic on homes that have been rejected by buyers. Here's the procedure. Create the custom CMA using the expired listings and a summary sheet according to the price per square foot. Looks like that. Okay, step 3, determine the range for the subject. Now you know the value ranges and why they exist. Identify the most suited range for your subject. Procedure, using the 6 key buying features: square foot, bedroom, stories, year built, does it have a pool, lot description. Use your knowledge of the area and subject home to determine where it fits in the neighborhood and area. Step 4, strategically position the subject home. Study the amenities and conditions of homes on the sold summary sheet. And have your subject well positioned within the correct range doubles your chance of getting the home sold. I'm giving Taja a second. She's processing the
I
words.
had to process the last one.
Okay. If you're in the value range, it doubles the chance of getting sold. Okay. Step 5, verify the price satisfies the seller's financial need. The seller's financial need is checked after step 5 because all the information needed to justify the value has been accumulated. This step may entail calculating a net sheet for the seller. Looks like that.
Yep.
I have a spreadsheet if you ever need to calculate it. I'll be glad to share the spreadsheet with you. Very simple, calculates off the sales price and does everything for you. You put in like 5 numbers and it'll tell you what the net is.
A lot of title companies have that.
Yeah, do you
too.
have one that's like branded for 6 Ave?
No, it's just my spreadsheet. I can brand it.
I mean, I have one, but it's, and I put 6 Ave on there just to select. You know, I'm so techy. That
Yeah, it's like, oh,
done it like some of the other boards. Like some of the other boards, like they made it a thing where they're like, we will use showing time for the next 6 months. And in 6 months, we're cutting it off and jumping to the other one instead of being straddled.
Yeah, and do it.
It's
Oh,
like-
I'm sorry, is that your phone?
It's hard
I'm like,
to.
why is that not feel sturdy?
okay.
I don't have the data.
Let me present that.
I was like, is she gonna? Yeah, I thought it was like, is that in the name? Apparently.
Okay, so let me show you guys this. Let me make sure all this stuff is working like I want it to. Okay, so this is my spreadsheet that I developed for my clients. Aaron, this is going to confuse you. I'm sorry.
I
You
just
just
short,
need-
I just short circuited looking at that.
You need to just hear it a couple of times and it'll make more sense. So I apologize, Gracie. This may confuse you a little bit too. Because
I've seen it before.
you've seen it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I built this spreadsheet with MLS directly in mind. So all of my columns are directly the same thing that I can copy in MLS and paste into my spreadsheet. Makes it very quick, very easy. But I did that on purpose. Let me show you what I mean. And how am I going to show that one? So I got to present my matrix. So present this one instead. Stop sharing and go back here. I'm so sorry, guys. I can do the entire screen and then we can do it. Yeah, that'd be good. Do that one. No, I don't want to do that. Chrome tab, matrix. Okay. All right. So, let me go over here and show you. For instance, looking for a small one. I think that one's fairly small. Yep. Okay. That one's too big.
No.
None of those big. That one should be small. Okay, that one's good. That's a good size. Okay, so I go in and I pull the comps based on my subject. So an appraiser, Chip Bingham, taught me that you want to be plus or minus 15% of the build size, square footage. Plus or minus, and this is a sliding scale and you have to kind of use your brain. The house was built in the mid 80s. I can go back 10 years before, 10 years after. But you got to watch out for that 1978 that we on lead-based paint. So if something was built in 72, I'm not going much past 78. It's not a 10-year slide. Anything like old 76104, 76110, if it was built in the 40s, I'm going to look from 1960 back. So 1960 minus would be my criteria of what I'm looking for. Something was built in 2003, I'm going to go 93 to 03, or to 13. But if something was built in 16, I'm not going to go back to 2006. I'm going to go back to 2011, plus or minus 5 years. Does that make sense? It's a sliding scale. If it's older, you got to get wider. If it's newer, you got to get slimmer. Okay? So the only things that I'm looking for is the square footage, the year it was built, and I might look at the number of bedrooms, but when you get into a subdivision, you're going to get a 3, 4, or 5, right? I mean, you're not, unless you get into older houses and you get 2s. A 5 doesn't compare to a 2, but a 3 compares to a 4. Okay. So this is Rancho North in Saginaw. It's an older subdivision, older neighborhood. So I take all of these and all I do is I click this and then I go down here to the bottom and I click stats, tabular. And this is what it looks like. And so what I did was I built my spreadsheet to mimic that exact thing. So that all I got to do is go in here and I left click and hold and I highlight and capture the minimum, the maximum, and the average, not the median. I don't care about the median. I only care about the average. Those 3 columns right there, and then I just copy. And then I paste those, and I'm just going to do this so you guys can see it. And then I'm going to have to jump back over and start sharing here and start sharing this, that. Okay, so I jump back over here and then I go, and Mac is a little bit weird. In Windows, I was always able to just hit this one thing and hit paste and it worked great. Mac is a little bit weird. So I have to hit paste special, text. And then those numbers placed across there. Okay. Then I do, if there's pending, I'll look at those. If I'm looking at it, these are actives. These can be pendings. They might be active options so that I can show if my thought is I need to show the seller what is actually selling, I might use an active option because that's sold. Not closed, but it's under contract. And then I'm going to look at the sold listings. And then these numbers all calculate, and you'll see right here in the formula, sum H18. So under H18 is the minimum, 280, 310. Why do I not put the maximum, 340? Why am I using this 310, 875 number instead of 340?
Are you doing your range?
I'm doing a range.
Yeah, so you're gonna get the lowest to the highest or get that range. Is that what that old number is? The right number?
So the reason that I am using H18 and H20 for these two numbers right here is because of market conditions. So if we were in the pandemic market conditions where everything is going up, then I'm probably going to say 310 to 340 because that's a different market than where we are right now. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, and I think that I would make that judgment. Another way I would make that judgment is off your percentages. 93
Oh, when
know,
it's sold
per square foot,
Yes.
93%, 103%, 98%,
Okay, so
or no.
the general rule of thumb is that you very, very seldom do anything with square footage until you're completely done with every other number that you're going to run. An appraiser only looks at the features, amenities, and conditions of the house. He does not consider the square foot. It used to drive me crazy. I've let it not drive me crazy anymore when I walk into a listing appointment and the seller says, my neighbor got $145 a square foot. That means my house is worth $7.4 million.
It depends on your square footage.
And I have to have this conversation of an appraiser doesn't care what the price per square foot is.
Right.
He looks at the features, amenities, and conditions, and he compares those to the actives, the expireds, the solds, and then this is the number. When he gets done, he goes, okay, my number is $400,000, and that is $155 a square foot. Does $155 per square foot fit in the neighborhood profile of all the other houses that have sold? That's the only time he looks at price per square foot.
Okay.
That's what Brian
I
told
like
me.
that.
Yeah, on the, not
Okay.
just Brian, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so price per, don't let people talk you into talking price per square foot because it doesn't matter. It's not something that's important. Is it something to look at? Absolutely. But so is the Zillow value.
Yeah.
You got to look at it because you got to know what the seller's seeing. Okay. And then I always go and pull the RPR value, Realtors Property Resource, because I just want another opinion.
And that's come a long ways too, because it used to be really low.
Well, that's coming up. And then you also need to look at tax rolls on Realist and look and see what the county thinks it's worth. They're going to give you a range and they're going to give you a median value. It's important that you note that. You don't have to, you don't base on it.
Take all that data.
I
Yeah.
do too.
Like I compare it. I'm like, here's
Okay.
my comps, here's Zillow's comps, here's tax appraisal, and so they kind of see.
Exactly. Okay. So then I have built into this spreadsheet, you can see all these tabs across the bottom. I also have a blank upgrades page built in there because I work with a lot of investors. And so I have them just text me or email me, just tell me what you did and how much it costs. And I build this in so that it's in my file. I can print that to a PDF like that based off of this. I don't have to have a Word document that I'm lining up. I can do all of it right here and print it in just a couple of seconds. Next, I go to my multi-price point net sheet. This is my built-in net sheet, okay? So it bases everything from the front page into these two categories. Here's the low list price, here's the high list price. Where it says suggested and high sell, those are numbers that I'm going to input once I determine what the price point should be. Now, you'll see up to 75 days to sell, 76 to 180. Okay, so there's two different price points there. I'm giving the seller the option. Is time more valuable or is money more valuable? Because if they don't mind sitting around waiting 4 months, 5 months, we might be able to get 249.9, especially with the wave that we think is coming. 180 days from now will be August. You think the market will be different in August than it is in January? I think so.
I think second quarter gonna get wild.
Well, but if you need to sell it right now because you've got to get to Colorado for your job, you need to sell it right now. Is it worth $10,000 to sell that property in a month and a half, 2 months? That's the question. You're considering the seller's financial and timing need. Okay, so this is my spreadsheet. All these numbers are built in, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So this is I give a 0.5% discount to somebody that has used me before. So that is built in. These numbers right here are built off of that 5.5 times the sales price. For instance, if I change, I'm just going to change this one to 285 as the low price. You'll watch these numbers right here. Everything automatically calculates, including the title policy.
Right.
I have the formula built into the title policy. You can see it right there. It's B5, which is the sales price, minus 100,000 times 0.00554 plus $875. That's the formula to calculate title policy. If I have everything and I have the customer owes this much and I have exactly what the HOA transfer fee is going to be, and I have the exact taxes and I can calculate the closing date, I can get within $400 every single time of being exactly correct. Very commonly, I'm within $100 if I have all the numbers. Now, the thing that you can't ever know is what the mortgage payoff is. Your seller will tell you, I looked on my bank and they say I owe $209,000. What they don't show you on that website is that the bank is going to charge a fee to close the escrow account. That's going to be another $1,000. So if somebody tells me they owe 208.3, I'm at least putting 209 because I'm calculating high. I'd rather calculate high and give them more money 3 days before closing and go, hey, you're getting an extra $1,000 at closing. What a great conversation that is. Okay. Now,
By the way, can I just make a little note? I've talked to several agents, that newer agents that didn't know that survey coverage up there. Sorry, it just caught my eye. If you're not giving that to your buyer or asking for it, you need to. Well, I see so many offers that I have it checked no, and I'm like, it's not that much money, and you're getting extra coverage on your survey from the title company.
exactly.
So anyway, so that just caught my eye, and I've had that happen like twice.
In this market.
Yeah.
But in a market where you're doing multiple offers, you click no.
Yeah, but you still want your buyer. You still want your buyer to pay for that if your seller's not going to.
Okay.
That's what I always suggest.
Wait, what?
This extra survey coverage.
Deja vu so hard right now. I'm having a hard time.
Why you have it?
I don't know.
What?
Like even what I just read and like what you just said, I'm like, what just
So
happened?
yeah.
So the extra survey coverage.
Probably like me, it's a lot. Your
I'm like,
life's a lot different.
so what did you say about the?
I'll let Brian, yeah. go for it.
So the extra survey coverage for a $285,000 listing for sales price is only $95.
Yeah.
It gives you extra coverage if something on the survey is not correct. Now, if you're the seller, you don't want to pay for that. It's $95. But if a buyer comes in and gives me that, and gives me list price, and they say, I want you to pay $95, we're going to pay it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, if your seller doesn't give it, I still recommend your buyer pay for it.
And then when you get into multiple offer situations, a lot of times the buyers will not ask for that because they're trying to make as
Right.
much in the seller's pocket as possible so they get the offer.
Right.
Okay, this is where it's going to get a little bit confusing. And y'all have to bear with me for about 20 minutes. 15, 10, 5. Can I get you? 5, 3?
3.
Okay, 3 minutes. Here we go.
Wow.
This is where it gets confusing. Okay, so appraisers, when they look at the features, amenities, and conditions of a property, they are trying to compare apples to apples. So if you ever look at an appraisal report, you'll see something called condition. C1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. C5 being the best, C1 being the lowest. C1's not livable. C5 is brand new and it has everything done on it. Most of the time you're going to see C3 and C4. As you go through that, you also have to consider number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, number of garages, doesn't have a pool, is granite the standard for the neighborhood and this house doesn't have it? Is this house have wood floors and that's not the standard for the neighborhood? Because just because you have an amenity does not mean that it's worth any money unless everybody else doesn't have it. It has to be a plus. So Holly and I have gone through this conversation last summer with a pool. My neighbor put in $100,000 pool. It's really cool. It's worth $30,000 to an appraiser. Now, that depends. It's a sliding scale. If you're in Watauga, it's $30,000. If you're in Milfordson Hills, it's $30,000. If you're in Keller, it's $45,000 to $50,000. If you're in South Lake, that could be $75,000 to $100,000. If you're in Highland Park, that could be $250,000. It's a sliding scale, and you have to know what subdivision you're in and how does that really play. If you have questions, you call Brian and go, I'm in Keller, what for? What does it have? Is it just a hole in the ground and it's got, a diving board that was installed 30 years ago? it's a $30,000 pool in Keller. Is it a pool in Keller that has an outdoor kitchen and a pergola and it's got a rock feature and it's got a fountain? That's a $50,000 pool. Make sense?
Just answered a question of a seller yesterday that reached out to me.
Good.
In cover.
Okay. Well, there you go.
See, I
That-
did not.
that's a
know
preview.
that. I was doing a percentage like how I would start from the get-go, and when he told me that, and then I looked at my
He
tax
said
records.
7%, I like did a bunch of research.
Yeah,
So
I was
that's why
told way
I'm
back
there.
when to do a certain percentage, and when he told me that, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. So, okay, but let's talk about a house in Keller that is 2,400 square foot and it has a 3-car garage. All the other houses in the neighborhood have 2-car garages. What's it worth?
Let me look at my old notes that you gave me.
$5,000 to $10,000, depending.
Would you
For
cross
next-
it right quickly again?
If it is a true 3-car garage where you've got a double door and a single door, that's probably $5,000, $7,500 is what an appraiser is going to give you. If it is a swing drive, everybody know what a swing drive is? Where you got up a driveway to the house and then you turn to go in the garage. Okay. So you got a house, you got a 2-car garage, and then you got a 1-car over here. That's probably $10,000 because it has its own entrance. It might have its own air conditioning. Some of those people do air conditioning, if they've got that other workshop, you've got to look at it and you've got to make a determination of what it's worth.
You
Yes.
know what's confusing to me is how to determine how much a pool adds. Like that is one thing I'm just like, pools throw me.
Well, at least 30,
Yes.
unless it's like not workable.
It's 30. If it's above ground, it's no value.
Yeah. Okay.
It's $30,000 in most areas. That's the baseline starter value.
But that's just a pool.
That's just the pool.
Not outdoor living.
So, but if you got an outdoor kitchen and a pergola and they've got flagstone or granite and countertops and a refrigerator,
Right,
you got to add some value for that.
right.
And sometimes an appraiser will go and he'll look at the comparables. And if somebody else had one, he'll try to pull that data out of that listing and pull out what that value that appraiser gave.
Yeah, I have a listing coming up and like it was a Bloomfield home, but when I tell you that they redid everything. I mean, like everything. You know that weird Bloomfield structure that's in between the living room and the dining room? And it's like a weird thing?
Yeah.
Well, she hated that. She just put a whole wall up. So like there's actually like 2 rooms now. She changed the backsplash, the wall. I mean, everything you can change, crown molding, everything, extended the cabinets all the way up, added a pool. And so I'm just like, and then the neighborhood's fairly new. It's built in 2016, so hasn't really sold yet.
Okay.
And so I'm like,
Yeah, it gets going to get tricky.
Yeah, that's gonna be. hard.
And if you ever run into an odd duck, if you ever run into a unicorn, you will, okay? And you start looking at the comps and you can't price it and you call me and I'm like, that's a unicorn. They do exist. There's a simple thing that you can do. You can call an appraiser and have a pre-listing appraisal done to give you an idea of where you should price. Now, remember, if you have a house that's going to get an appraisal done and you have 3 appraisers that are going to come and do an appraisal on that property on the exact same day, you will get 3 different answers. So it's one person's opinion of what the value is worth. Do you have the right to argue with that appraiser? Not in person, but once he submits his appraisal to the lender and the lender has their review board, then you can argue with them and show them comps of why you think the appraiser was wrong. And they will sometimes go back and ask the appraiser to redo his numbers.
I have a question about her unicorn though. Just because it's been appraised for higher than all the others in the neighborhood doesn't make sense to sell for that, because maybe I'm thinking you still have to compare to the others in the neighborhood. Just because that person overbuilt, because like people are doing that in Hartford County, they're buying brand new homes and ripping everything out. I mean, Staff knows that they're the ones doing the construction, but it's crazy. And then when they go back to resell it, it still has to comp with the next door neighbors. And it's just because you put $300,000 in after you bought a $500,000 house doesn't mean it's going to be $800,000, because everyone wants to buy similar things. So don't you have to take that into consideration, or at least tell the seller, I get it. You put $300,000 in, you're not going to get that out because they have to compare with your.
Correct.
So I had that happen in I guess it's Hearst area. My people were buying the biggest, the best. They completely renovated the house. And when we had our appraisal was it $60,000 or $80,000 short? Remember that? I can't remember, $60,000 or $80,000 short. And we argued with the appraisal. And he's like, I'll raise it to like 10K, but they have the biggest and best house and I can't, there's nothing to compare it to.
Right.
So,
So-
yeah, so we had to compromise and.
Well, and it's kind of like like you said, like comparing neighborhoods and like a maintenance thing.
Yeah.
Like if everybody has a backsplash, I mean, just because you chose a fancy
Fancy
backsplash,
bougie.
it doesn't transfer.
No,
Right.
it doesn't mean
It
money.
is what it
Okay,
is.
so
Yeah.
let me get us through this part because I do want to get you guys done in the next 20 minutes. So this is where this appraiser's comparable summary is once I designed this and built it, and now I print it when I think that there's going to be a problem with an appraisal. I have not missed one appraisal since I started using this because I'm doing all of the work for the appraiser. I'm giving in the numbers that I can prove. And I have not had one appraiser say, that sucks, don't do that, you're doing my job. I've heard, hey, thanks for the hard work. Okay, here's how this works. Everything that is plus or minus 100 square foot is the same to an appraiser. So if a house is 1758, so this 10948 Caldwell is 1758 square feet. This listing is 1604. That's 154 square foot difference. So I take 100 square foot off. This number right here is C12, 154, and it actually needs to be minus 100. So they get 54 square foot at 174.50, 45% of that. So the formula goes, and I'm going to show you the formula down here at the bottom so you can see it. Comp square footage minus 100 or plus if you're smaller times the sold price per square foot times 45%. So 174.50 times 50%. Let's just use a big number. That's what, $87, right? Everybody with me? 87 times $54 a square foot is that number, 4240. So that's the amount of money they get for the extra square footage in the house that they have versus that house that's at 1604. I'm getting head shakes. Okay, good. All right, now let's just say that all these houses, this one says 1968. It's just because I didn't change the spreadsheet. But let's just say the house was built in 95. That's 10 years. That's a little extravagant. So I'm going to say everything within 7 years is the same, but this one's 10 years older. I'm going to give them $1,000 per year in an adjustment. Number of bedrooms. If I've got a 3 and the neighborhood is 4, well, I've got to adjust probably $5,000 for 1 bedroom, maybe $7,500 for 2. A bathroom is worth $4,000. Full bathroom is worth $4,000. If you got a half bathroom, $1,500, $2,000, depending on what's in the bathroom. If it's a half bathroom downstairs under the stairs and it's just a sink and a toilet, it's $1,500. That's what it's worth. Okay. Then you go into upgrades and superior. I look at that point, I'm looking at pool. I'm looking at condition. I'm looking at, oh, your house has not been renovated, but my comp, they did a $75,000 remodel on it. How much is that $75,000 worth? Probably $30,000, $40,000. They get about 50 cents on the dollar for an upgrade. Make sense? Okay, you did? Okay, making sure, making all that sense. So then all of this runs down. Now you'll also see days on the MLS. I calculate those because it's important to know the house that I'm looking at, how long was it on the market? All these houses were pretty short. I've got a couple that I've done in the last 2 months that were 140 days on the market. Why? Because they were overpriced for the market. It's the bottom line. If it's being marketed properly and they've been on the market 140 days, they are overpriced for the market. They may not be overpriced for an appraisal, but they're overpriced for the market. That's something their agent should have told them. Okay. Now you're going to see a number over here to the side, and this one is actually kind of important. This is something that I just started doing called the adjusted average per square foot. This is where I'm going to lose you. I'm sorry. Okay. So the formula is K13, which is this number right here, divided by C11, which is the square footage. Because once I get, let's just say that this is a 4-bedroom and that it's got a 3 bathrooms and it's got a 3-car garage. This will make it more where you can see it. So I have to turn my comp into my subject. With me? Okay. So what do I need to do to Trimble to make it the subject?
Make one less bedroom,
One less bedroom is $5,000. One less bathroom,
1,500, right?
the full bathroom
Yes.
is going to be probably 2,000 to 2,500 depending on the
Yeah, half
extent.
that is 1,500.
Okay. So let's take 2,500 off, and it's a 3-car garage. I'm going to take off $7,500 to make that one good. Well, if I can type. Okay. And I'm going to take away the renovated. I don't like that, but it's got a pool. So that comp is now 239. That's where my house would be listed if I was only comparing to that property. Head shakes? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, look at the adjusted price per square foot. The house sold for 174, but based on where we should be is 149. Price per square foot based on the compared value. At 239 and your 1604, that should have been 149 because I took out all these numbers right here. Does that make sense? Oh, good. Good. I got a head shakes. Okay. So I average all of these things down here at the bottom. Now, if I've got actives, those are different than solds. It's a completely different animal because nobody bought it yet. So I take the actives and put them on a line, and I say the actives are averaging about 163 a square foot. The solds are averaging about 155 a square foot. And of course, these numbers don't really make sense, but you understand the averaging. So based on the actives, if I was going to list my house, what I do is I take the actives right here, this one and this one equals this number. These right here are, if I average all those together, that will equal that number right there. So based on everything that I see, this house should be priced at 230. Then I go to my fish finder and I look and I see, are people looking at 230? Oh, they're not. They're looking at 225. Okay. So that tells me that it's going to cost the seller $5,000, but I'm going to sell their house at 225. And then that's that number right there, 225. And then I can go back to the multi-price net sheet and go in. If you want to sell your house today, you would need to sell it at 225.
They don't like that. They don't like that.
Well, these numbers don't really make sense. Don't look at that.
I'm like, they're not gonna be happy.
Well,
They're gonna want some commission.
yeah. And so does that theory compute with what the slideshow I did? I took all of that data in all those big words in the slideshow and put them into practical use. This is how you go about showing the seller. Here's the expireds. Here's the comps. Here's the solds. Here's the actives. This is our market. And you're giving them a full market package. Now, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to have Jana Seal come in and she's going to give her listing presentation. She only lists with people that she's done business with in the past. So her listing presentation is going to be different than the one I'm going to present probably 2 weeks after Jana does hers. And I'm going to do it with somebody in the office who's going to be my client. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to give them a listing presentation, an hour long, and you'll get to see it. You guys that took Buffini last year got to see the listing presentation and the buyer presentation. You'll get to see 2 of the agents here in the office do that as well. Okay, at this point, I'm done.
And we can have all this.
I can give you a copy of it. I don't want to give you too much information that you can hurt yourself with. But yes, I can give you this spreadsheet.
I'm about to say, you're gonna share that with us, yeah?
I can, yes.
Could we do a thing where you like give us an address in this and we go do our homework and then like email it to you and it'll be like you failed or you passed?
Great.
It's like for people like, sorry, I'm throwing you under the bus. But I'm like, that's the whole lot for somebody who's,
Well, Gracie, it'll be interesting to see what Gracie comes up with.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about it. You've done this a couple of times now.
Yeah.
You've gone through pricing.
Cause I just do my comps and then a lot of times if I'm unsure, I bat them off a Holly and then I meet somewhere in the middle.
We
You know
differ on how we
Yeah,
do it.
You
Yeah.
know what's actually low key kind of accurate sometimes? RPR.
There are,
It used to not be though. 'Cause
I know it definitely
Oh
used
my
to
gosh.
used to be.
It's,
It's so
I
much
did
better
not
now.
like it.
Like I went and did it, and it's pretty like I like it.
I do too. It's
I
definitely
like how
much
you can
better.
adjust the comps and stuff like that, and you
In
adjust
there,
the
yeah.
pricing. It's pretty cool.
Megan, Mina, I'm going to go ahead and stop the video at this point because I don't want to make it too extra long that I have to put up there on YouTube. So thank you, ladies, for joining us. It was good to see you guys, and good to talk to you. Happy New Year. And then we'll continue the conversation here in the office. But I'm going to go ahead and shut the video down now. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.